lovelies. What we're going to be doing today is we are going to be making some name pattern art. So we already got some experience with patterns and lines and shapes from our last activity that we did that hopefully everybody has already completed their landscapes. So in our landscapes, we had those different sections that we filled in with different lines, patterns, shapes, colors, things like that. So now what we're going to be doing is we're going to get a little bit more random with it. So this is another way that we can utilize some of those patterns and shapes and textures that we started practicing with our landscapes, and we can make sure that we use the knowledge that we have and the practice that we've already done in order to make our patterns even cooler. So what my intermediate students are doing is they're taking a long paper. My paper is about this long, so it's longer than a regular sheet of paper, but it's still, you can do this on a regular sheet of paper as well that you have at home. It ends up looking really cool when you cut it out because what looks nice about this is it almost looks like it's part of the wall when you hang it up because of the way we cut it out. Okay, so you guys can see how this is a patterned name design art because if you look closely, you can start to see the letters in there. So I did my last name, so B-E-A-R-T-R-E-E, Bear Tree. So I did my last name on here, but you guys can do your first name and your last name if you can fit it. You could put your full last name, you could put your full first name, you could put your nickname, you could put, if your name is short, you could put, if your name's Kyle, you could put Kyle, soccer if you like soccer, but this should be reflective of you and your identity on this paper. So Bear Tree is my last name, so I wanted to do that as my identity name design. Okay, so the first step in this activity, this is going to be my paper, so I'm going to draw my paper on my board. Okay, you guys are not drawing a square or rectangle. Okay, this is my paper. So the first step that you're going to do is you're going to make two curvy lines. I would suggest for your curvy lines to be nice and long and wide. I wouldn't suggest for them to look like this, okay? Not like a super, super wavy line. I just want like one big curve, okay? So watch the way I do it. So we're gonna do one big curve. All right, I don't know if we can see that from this far away, but hopefully you can. And then when I make my next curve, wherever it's big, I'm gonna go big at the bottom. Wherever it's small, I'm gonna go a little bit small as well. So I'm gonna take my my pencil or marker, whichever you're using, and I'm gonna make my second curve. You see how I stayed big where it was already big, small where it was already small, okay? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try out my name. So planning is gonna kind of be your friend for this project because you can easily run out of room and then you're doing work that you're gonna end up having to erase, which is a pain in the butt. So what we're gonna do is you have some extra room on the outside. This space up here, this space over here, this is all scrap space because we're gonna end up cutting this out. So what I want you guys to do is you're gonna use that space to kind of practice. So let's say that you wanna do Brittany and love. That's what you want to write on there. So it helps to use all caps for this project, so all capital letters, so that you have more spaces to input the different shapes and patterns and such. So if you were going to say Brittany love, I'm going to practice up here, B-R-I-T-T-A-N-Y-L-O-V. Wow, that's really long. I don't think I can fit that in here. So since I wrote it out and I kind of practiced writing in all caps and I wrote it out, I can see that's way too long. That's not gonna fit on my paper. So I could probably pick one of those two words. So I'm gonna pick Brittany, okay? Because that's more of the person's name. So when I'm writing my letters, I am going to have it fit into my two curved lines that I make. So every letter that I make has to touch the top and the bottom. So when I'm making my capital letters, my line for my B is gonna touch the top and the bottom, the top and the bottom. You see how even when it goes smaller, it's still touching the top and the bottom. When it gets bigger again, it's still touching the top and the bottom. So your letters are gonna fluctuate, okay? So, B, R, I, T, T, A. Perfect. Okay, that fit perfectly. All right, so do you guys see how now I have fit my letters into my curved line there, and they're touching? Okay, you shouldn't have letters floating. Here's your curved lines and you have space, because then how are you gonna separate off your pattern sections? Okay, so now that I have my name outlined there, for my brick and mortar students, I'm doing the outlining for them with an Expo marker. So I would grab either an Expo marker or a Sharpie, or you can use a regular marker that you have at home, a washable marker. I would get black or dark color and outline what you've created. So outline your curved line and outline your letters. After you have those outlined with your marker, you're gonna go ahead and my in-school students are using crayons, colored pencils to add the color. The reason that we use crayon colored pencils is because if you press really hard with your crayons, you can get these really bright, vibrant colors, and it doesn't take away from your marker so that we could still see the letters. If I used marker to color this and I used marker to outline it, I'm gonna start to lose my letters, and then it's not a name design drawing anymore. It's just a colored drawing, if that makes sense. So what I would suggest doing is using crayon color pencil to come up with a bunch of different designs and patterns and textures to put back here, and it ends up looking really cool, almost like an optical illusion, because you try to find the letters, it's kind of hard to see the name, so it's a fun little mystery. All right, so here again are some examples of different lines and patterns that I have on my board here. You guys can do repeating lines, repeating shapes, repeating subjects. So sometimes some of my friends are doing like sports themed names because they like sports. So in between the letters, a pattern is anything that's repeating design, right? So instead of polka dots, you could do baseballs. Instead of just stripes, you could do a net, like a basketball net. Instead of swirls, you could do footballs, all right? So it's any sort of repeating design that repeats over and over again in a particular pattern, okay? So we're going to fill up in between all of our letters. Make sure you're coloring really hard. If you color lightly, it's not gonna have the same effect. We're not wimpy colorers. We are intermediate students. We color nice and hard. If we break a crayon, it's okay. It still works the same, okay? I don't want you guys to be afraid to color hard on this. I really want to see these really vibrant colors. And I cannot wait to see what it looks like when y'all are finished. So please make sure you send me your pictures either on Schoology or on Dojo, because I love to see your artwork still. All right? Well, enjoy, have so much fun, and I cannot wait to see them.